So we're joined today by Chris Richards. He's a coach and a phenomenal dude. And thanks so much for being on the show, bro. And for people who don't know, you're absolutely welcome. Yeah, absolutely welcome. And for people who don't know who you are, Chris, could you just give us a background of how you got into the training side of things? Because I know I see your Instagram. You're the most probably prolific Instagrammer I've ever seen in my life. You're constantly giving people content and value. So how did you get into all this, and what got you started?
So at the moment, I'm 38. I've been in gym since I was 16, so I've been training for 22 years now. Up until the age of 30, training was always just recreation, hobby. I'd competed in strongman and powerlifting at the time, but it was never something I did as a career. At the time, I was working in the motor trade, and the company that I worked for was a Vauxhall dealership, but it was a family-run and owned business. And after 10 of the 12 years of being there, it got bought out by Arnold Clark, which are a multinational company. And literally overnight, roughly sort of 60-70% of my workload got taken off me. So literally within a week, I've got all of this time to think. And because I'd been used to working at such a fast pace to get through all of this workload, suddenly I've got all this time on my hand. And one of the first questions that came to mind was, do I want to do this for another 10 years? Which I didn't. So long story short, I then started to think, well, what do I want to spend the rest of my life doing? A lot of people had told me over the years, why don't you think about being a personal trainer? But having worked for a corporate-based company, Vauxhall are obviously a manufacturer. They're very much, you've got to do it this way, you've got to do it that way. My perception of personal training was very corporate, very commercial gym. You're told what to do, how to do it. Started to look into it, decided that I would do my level 3 personal training around my office job, and thought there's no harm doing that. And like probably most people who transition from one career to another, just set up a Facebook page, started putting some content out, started to pick up a bit of momentum, picked up a couple of clients, they referred more. And then I got to a point within sort of 7 or 8 months where I was at that tipping point. I worked 40 hours a week. My wife's a nurse, so she was working late 2 days a week. I had a son, or have a son. So I only had so many hours in the week that I could personal train around my office job. So it was a case of, does this continue to be just a side hustle? No, I hate saying side hustle, like a hobby to a degree, or do I go all in on it? So made a decision that if I'm going to do it, I'm doing it properly. Left the motor trade and went full-time as a freelance PT. Did that for 12 months before I opened a gym. And I opened and ran a gym, personal training studio, for 5 years, which I closed last January, mostly as a result of the pandemic. I just got to a point where I'd took it as far as I was prepared to take it. We'd invested a lot of money in the early days to open it, but also the pandemic just took a lot of stress and financial stress just to keep the place afloat. So closed out last January, transitioned online, and that's where I am today, online coaching. So for me, up until probably, I'd say even as early or as frequent as probably November last year, my Instagram was largely just a training journal. I would just post my training. So it's only really sort of November, December last year that I started to take it a little bit more seriously, because I needed to, because of my online coaching business. So that's when I started to put out more value-based content and being more visible on Instagram. That's sort of where I was at and where I'm at now, and where things are heading.
Awesome. Yeah, love that, Chris. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I definitely relate what you mentioned about the pandemic and gyms. I was working at a gym and it went completely under. So it was just like crazy time. But looking at your Instagram and stuff, I mean, like, I don't know anyone who posts quite much as you, as far as I'm aware, and I mean that in a complimentary way. You're constantly putting out. Do you have any kind of like schedule or regimen with that, or is it just kind of like you think of an idea and put it out? Because notice your videos. I know we had briefly talked when we first started interacting that you said, I don't even use a mic. I just go in there and just like, riff and get content out. Do you have a schedule with it? Is it a kind of process you go into when you do that? Or is it kind of you have an idea and just act on it?
Yeah, so roughly, I mean, I'm always trying to test different things in terms of, is posting more better? Is posting more better? Is posting less better, or is posting more better? So I'll test different frequency of posts, different timings of posts, and also different styles of posts. So at the moment, obviously, the way that Instagram's heading, everything is video based. So reels are performing far better than most other things. So I'd say 99% of the content that I put out is video based and it's reels. On a general day to day, most of the time I'll post twice, and I'll post 8 a.m., which will be sort of content like value based, me talking to the camera. And then usually in the evening will be some sort of training highlight. The reason that I sort of do that bit of yin and yang in terms of value and then my own training is I'm a big advocate of chasing discomfort and that whole thing of pushing yourself in training. You know, we've got to seek that level of discomfort if we want to take ourselves from here to there. That period there, or that gap there, is discomfort. You know, if we want to get stronger, we want to get fitter, we want to get leaner, that doesn't happen by just staying in our comfort zone. So for me, the reason I post a lot of my training as well is if I'm talking about training with intensity in the morning, or I'm talking about why people are failing within their training, and then they can flick through my Instagram and say, oh, hang on, he's talking about training intensity, but he's also demonstrating the fact that he trains with intensity. For me, it just works well. A lot of the people, when I jump on a consultation call with prospective clients, a lot of the time the feedback that I get is that they see, obviously they can see that I train hard, so that gives them an element of I don't know what the word is, not necessarily peace of mind, but they know that it's not a case of do as I say, not as I do. You know, I hold myself to a high standard, so they know that they're going to get that in return as a client. But also it gives them an insight into how they're going to be training. I think for me, like a lot of the time with online coaching, there's an overlap in terms of, you know, busy professionals or, you know, whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't always think that it demonstrates how the individual is going to be training. And because I'm a big lover of training, that's why I think I try and balance my content with the morning stuff, which is generally me talking to the camera about some form of training, nutrition, mindset, whatever it might be. And then the evenings will be more training focused. So that'll be highlights from the session, or if a bit of personal best or something like that. And when I create the content that goes up in the morning, I usually do that at once. So rather than doing it on the day, like tomorrow being Wednesday, Wednesday is my content day. So I always get up at 6 a.m. anyway. So I'll get up at 6, I'll plan out the content for next week. So what topics do I want to talk about? I'll then write the captions that go obviously below the posts on Instagram. Then, I know this sounds daft, but this is like my sort of creative process when it comes to content. I do all that roughly sort of 6 a.m. till 8 a.m. I then have breakfast, take my son to school, walk the dog, come back, then I'll set the camera up and then I'll start recording. The other reason that I do it that way is because I've got a wife, I've got a son. If I start, you know, I'm sat in my office now, that's my bedroom. So if I start talking to the camera at 6 a.m. in the morning, my wife would not thank me at all. But yeah, I'll create, like tomorrow, I'll create all next week's content. I'll do all the thumbnails, do all the captions, everything like that. So on the day, I've got it all saved in my phone. I just need to post it.
Wow, that's it, bro. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's so it's you kind of collate it all together and then post it when you need to. That's amazing. I also was just going to catch you on that. I know you mentioned about that. You say, you know, you do the kind of more mindset stuff early in the day, and then it's usually like a training highlight in the evening. I was actually quite gravitated towards your work, particularly because you talk about you actually give quite a lot of content as well. I'm not a big fan of people who just post training videos. Like it kind of, I obviously like goes without saying it can be very inspiring and it can, you know, make you go do your own personal best. It's fantastic, brilliant. But I like the fact that you also give actual like verbal value as well. Because I feel as though I can relate to you as a person more. If it's just training highlights, it's very it sometimes can, I don't know, I feel as though it can be very a bit copy and paste sometimes if it's just the training. So it's nice that you have both sides of that as well. And in terms, I know you said you did like strongman and powerlifting as well, Chris. In terms of like your own training at the moment, if I remember correctly, have you just recently gone through a cut? Have you been losing weight recently?
Yeah, so I was dieting and now I'm currently dieting again. I've got about 5 weeks left. So I did strongman, I did powerlifting in my 20s, and that was very much like, I always joke about it now, but I basically lived in Subway. I wasn't a coach. I didn't train properly. I trained like an absolute moron. Looking back now, my approach to training was just get in the gym and try and max out every session, every week, constantly trying to hit personal bests. And as a result, I picked up some quite nasty injuries in my 20s. Nutrition was, again, just calories. Strongman powerlifting, it's about being not necessarily as heavy as you can be, but like it's about being statically strong. So I was in this mindset that more is better. The more calories I consume, just get calories in from wherever. So probably more recently, last year, the year before, I was doing CrossFit. So obviously there's more of a metabolic response to that. So that got me in a little bit better shape. But I'd probably say in the 22 years that I've been training, apart from this year, I've never really focused on my physique. How I looked was always a byproduct of training performance and, strength to a degree. So one of the reasons I came away from CrossFit is I love CrossFit, but it just didn't love me. Having historic niggles and injuries, the intensity of it, and I'm very competitive. So if I'm doing something, I want to go all in with it. And different modalities like gymnastics and weightlifting and metcons and all this, my body was just fighting back. So for me, I am like a bit of a child. It's like, if I can't do something, I don't want to know. So this is when I switched gyms at the start of the year. And believe it or not, up until when I joined this gym that I train at now on the 1st of February, I hadn't touched a machine in the sense of like a plate loaded or a pin loaded machine or a cable for well over 10 years. So for me, going into a new environment, because I'd trained in CrossFit gyms or functional fitness, the gym that I owned was like your typical sort of functional fitness gym, rigs, barbells, dumbbells, kettlebells, cardio equipment. That was it. So I was like a kid in a sweet shop. Suddenly I've got all this kit at my disposal. And I started to notice that all these niggles that I was battling started to disappear because I was able to manage them much better with different training, equipment. So then I probably got to, within a good few weeks, only a couple of weeks into training at this new gym and sort of switching to a more hybrid approach where I'm combining sort of strength work with hypertrophy and functional conditioning, that I was like, okay, well, I wonder, having never really focused on my physique, what sort of shape I could get myself in if I not only add in all this hypertrophy work, but dedicate some time to sorting my shit. Oh, sorry, can I swear?
Yeah, don't worry, bro. Yeah.
If I sort my shit out with nutrition and lifestyle, because of the pandemic and the stress of closing the gym and all this, I'd picked up bad habits. So I dieted from the sort of middle of February through to me going on holiday in May. Dropped what was it now, 28 pounds to 2 stone. Came back off holiday, and then that sort of was a bit like, if I can do this on my own, because I'm a huge advocate of having coaches. Like, just because I'm a coach, I'm still a father, I'm still a husband, I'm still a human being that still has the same stresses and struggles as anybody else. And I think sometimes too much information can be negative at times. And being a coach, you can just program your training based on what you want to do rather than probably what you should be doing. So I thought, well, if I can get myself in that kind of shape, what sort of shape could I get in if I work with a coach who specializes in physique development? So there's a lad that I'd followed for probably 6 or 8 months, really good guy. He's a bodybuilder, but specializes in physique development, things like that. So we had a chat, and I said, strength is like, you cut me in half and it's strength training, so I can't not do that. I still want to be able to hit my compound list, I still want to be able to do my metcons, but can we work together on physique development? So I'm now 5 weeks into a diet. I've got another 5 weeks left. I've just hit today an all-time low body weight, and I'm carrying more muscle. I'm in better shape. So yeah, it's been an exciting journey so far because it's something that I've never focused on, and I'm still hitting personal bests and ticking all the other boxes within my training. So
yeah, that's amazing, bro. Yeah. So the fact that you've reached out for help as well, and you're maintaining the strength and going to passing personal bests, and you've hit a new body weight low, that's amazing. Recently, I actually I had a coach for the very first time, and it was a massive difference. And I've actually just got another one now for more like emotional healing and stuff like this. And it's like, wow, this is a whole new world. This, like, having someone objectively, look at you and say, we can do this, we can try this. It's used different. So yeah, definitely recommend that for anyone else. Well, hire a coach. It will completely shape your health and fitness journey if that's the route you want to go down. So, I did actually have a question about, in terms of coaching in general. Because I feel as though the health fitness industry now is so saturated in coaches and PTs, and I did wonder, in terms of like, what would you say is like the kind of biggest kind of mistake you find with coaches, something that it can make or break it with a coach. And obviously everyone has a variety of different styles and niches and stuff like this. But is there anything that you notice, you go, oh, and kind of roll your eyes and think, oh God, I can't believe they've just done that? Is there anything like that?
I think for me, the biggest standout thing is that people don't always find their own path. It's very easy because of social media, and particularly Instagram. It becomes very easy to become a version of. And I've been guilty of it in the past. Last year when I closed the gym down and I went online, I started out doing group online programming at like £59 a month. I basically wrote 3 programs. People could pay to access those programs. And if I look back now, they were a version of other people in the industry because I was trying to emulate their success. When I look back as well, it wasn't really something that I'm not saying I wasn't passionate about it, but it wasn't me. It wasn't my version of fitness. It wasn't what I'm passionate about doing. So now, like, my sort of signature program is my 16-week hybrid performance blueprint. That is, like, I could talk about that for the next 3 hours. Like, that is the stuff that gets me up in the morning. That, like, all the clients I work with, I absolutely love coaching. When someone messages and says they've hit a personal best, or just any aspects of their journey, for me, that's the shit that I live for. So for me, like, the biggest mistake that coaches make is they try to mimic somebody else's success. So, like, a common thing could be, busy professionals. And there's nothing wrong with coaching busy professionals at all. I've got friends in the industry who do a very, very good job at it. But if your skill set doesn't lend itself to getting the best out of a CEO, then you're never going to succeed as a coach coaching busy professionals. Equally, are you the sort of person that really, if you think about it, wants to coach that demographic? Like, I make no apologies by the fact that I don't coach people who are new to exercise. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has to start somewhere. But I've been training for that long and I've done that many different things that, for me, and this is why the one piece of advice I always give to people is, particularly coaches, just think, with every coach, if you've been coaching for a period of time, will have that one client that is an absolute pleasure to coach. That you see them in your diary and you're like, fuck, that's going to be a good session, right? That's the person that is basically your demographic. And often people skip that part. They want to go from, and I'll make it perfectly clear, I'm not exactly the most successful online coach in the space. Like, I've not been doing it whilst I've been training for 22 years and I've been personal training for years. I've owned a gym, all this. In terms of purely online coaching, like, I've only been doing it for 18 months. But one of the biggest mistakes people make is they try to, it's like the saying, if you try to please everybody, you'll please nobody. And for me, my demographic and the people that I love coaching are people that have been training for many years. They love training. They're already training sort of 3 to 5 times a week, but they've just hit a plateau. They've fallen out of love with it. They're just not getting rewarded for their efforts. They believe that they can't get leaner and get stronger at the same time. And they just want to know that they can turn up to the gym and have the clarity, the direction and the support to just take things to places that they couldn't do on their own. So for me, it's like, coaches they need to really think about, who is it you want to coach? Who gives you the most amount of fulfillment? If it's coaching, busy mums, then throw all your eggs in that one basket. If it's coaching busy professionals, that's fine. Throw all your eggs in that basket. Like, I remember a while back, my wife said to me, do you think it's a good idea that you swear so much on social media? I said, well, yeah, because that's who I am. I don't try to please everybody. If I post anything remotely controversial, I lose followers. And I don't mind that because they were likely never going to become clients anyway. And ultimately, when I'm talking, whether it's on my stories, on my content, whatever it might be, I am talking to that one person that in my head is my demographic. And if anybody around me in my sort of, following on social media connects with that message, then they'll likely connect with me as a coach and like my coaching style. And it's like I said to my wife, if I was very clean cut, didn't swear, was very proper on my content, and then 2 weeks down the line on a Zoom call with a client, I swear, they're like, where's that come from? So for me, it's about that continuous, that's who I am on social media, that's who I am in real life, that's who I am as a person. So yeah, sorry, that's a long-winded way of saying, I think ultimately people they miss the most fundamental thing. And it's like, who do you want to train? Don't try to please everybody. Find out who really sort of makes you want to get up in the morning and throw all your eggs in that basket.
Yeah, love that, Chris. Yeah, so it's really kind of having that really targeted skill set for that ideal client. And like you said, then that you said about swearing, like that's part of your character, and it shows authenticity. And there is occasions on my videos that I swear, and it's actually almost like a breath of fresh air. Sometimes I think with social media, I have this love-hate thing with it where I feel as though if I'm scared to post something, I have to post it. If I feel as though it's going to cause a ruckus, I have to post it. And not be so even disenchanted by how many likes it gets and stuff. Sometimes you just have to post it because it's expressing yourself and it's something that you're passionate about and you want to get that out. And even if that one person who does watch it is that person who's really into your stuff, then it makes all the difference for them as well. So I did actually just kind of catching on from that, Chris. I know you mentioned then about kind of like, being authentic, and I definitely have noticed a massive movement in the whole personal training industry where more coaches are being more authentic. They're posting, they don't have just granola and Greek yogurt and berries for breakfast every morning. They're posting, they're having a slice of pizza here, they're having the occasional chocolate bar here. They're saying that they've had a rest day, and it's such a breath of fresh air. Sometimes I feel as though with social media, people post all the highlight reels of, I've got my little prepared meal for today, and it's like this kind of a lettuce leaf and like a slab of chicken, and that's it. But they don't see all the other stuff when they go out drinking on the weekends and all this and that. And we get this kind of highlighted reel of people's lives, and it's not really a true representation of health and fitness. But I do feel as though a lot more trainers and coaches have actually stepped up to the plate a lot more in that, and they're actually showing that side of it more, which kind of gives other people to do the permission to do the same thing. Have you noticed that in like kind of your own circles, like a lot more trainers being a bit more authentic with their practice?
See, yes and no, in the sense of like one of the big things that I'm an advocate of is cleansing your digital environment. I actually put a post up about this recently, in the sense of if you follow someone on social media and their content makes you feel like shit, unfollow them. They might not be intentionally putting content out to make you feel that way, but if you're in the headspace and the mindset that you're going to absorb that content and it's going to make you feel that way, it's not conducive for you. It doesn't make sense for you to follow them. So I think a lot of the time people will follow accounts initially because they'll find them inspiring, but then often over a period of time, it'll get to a point where it's actually having the opposite effect. So for me personally, like I only follow accounts that, certainly in the fitness space, that inspire me. So if there's someone that, and it's almost like you have a bit of a radar for the fact that, no, that's bullshit. You don't train 7 days a week and live like a monk and all that, And if I come across people like that, or I feel like people are heading that direction, I just unfollow them, because that I only want to connect with people that are on my level. So yes and no, in the sense of like I don't see a lot of it because I just choose to unfollow them. Like for me, social media is fantastic, but for me, it's largely business. Like I've said for years, like if I didn't need to be on social media for business, I'd throw my phone and my MacBook in the sea, and I'd quite happily live with my wife, my son, and my small circle of friends and family. So I'm very critical of who I follow, in the sense of if I don't connect with them or I don't like what they're about, I won't follow them. But I have noticed that a lot of people that I do follow, that I do connect with, that I do like their message, has also started to be a bit more transparent, because they've started to see that it's okay. Like, I think there was a lot of, with content and things like that, and I think you said yourself, like, sometimes you can be fearful of posting something. Certainly in the fitness space, a lot of the fear comes from judgment from other coaches. It's like, oh, what will other coaches think? But who gives a shit? You're not trying to coach other coaches. You're trying to connect with general population. If they connect with your message, that's the most important thing. So I think a lot of people have started to realize that it's okay to just show that you're a human being, that you don't just train constantly. Because I think that certainly with like in-person coaching, it sort of breaks down barriers easier because you're in front of that person having a conversation. Whereas online, it's a bit like, without realizing or without doing it on purpose, a lot of the time it can be like smoke and mirrors. It's like you will only see what you want to see, depending on the frame of mind you're in that day. But equally, people can manipulate what they show you based on what they want you to see. So like for me, I mean, all right, I'm dieting at the moment. I'll be completely honest. I drank last Sunday at my mother-in-law's 60th. Before that, I didn't drink for a month or so. But normally I will have a good few pints at a weekend with a meal out with a family. But I'll post about that because I think, like, I'm not training elite level world-class athletes who can't drink, can't eat out, can't do anything because they're trying to get to the absolute top of their game. I'm training normal people that love training, they just want to get stronger, they want to get in shape, they want to enjoy their lives. And I think the transparency is critical when it comes to coaches, because it just adds another layer to you as a person. You're not just this one-dimensional person who just trains. And I think certainly with the online space, and certainly with, social media, particularly Instagram being as popular as it is, it's a great tool and a great opportunity to just show who you are as a person, because people buy from people. Like, when you scratch beneath the surface, the whole online coaching world is very similar. For all intents and purposes, it's a training program, a nutritional plan, a weekly check-in, support, guidance, blah, blah, blah. Nobody buys that. They buy into the person as an individual and the belief that they will resonate with them on a personal level and get them where they want to be. Everybody has their own individual styles, like the way I program, the way I coach, the way I train, things like that will be slightly different to other people. But it's a bit like buying a car. You're buying a car. Okay, you might buy an Audi or a Renault or, Ford, but you're buying a car. You're buying online coaching. And this is why I think coaches being more transparent with who they are in their message it's for me, it's a no-brainer, because you're showing who you are. And you're the one that's coaching that person, and that person is being coached by you, not this version of, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely, Chris. Yeah, great answer. I definitely think that's so true. And like you said, then it's like we're essentially all saying similar stuff in the health and fitness space, but everyone is saying their version of that, and it's, we want to hear that version of it, not some other one, this carbon copy version of someone else's. It can be almost like this kind of toxic relay race. Sometimes I find it's like informational aids. People just relay the same regurgitated crap all the time, don't they? And but it's nice when someone comes along and says a kind of hash version of that and puts their own spin on it in a unique way. So in terms of actors, kind of, I know we're a little bit pressed for time now, but any kind of closing message for our audience who might be, like you said, that demographic who you really enjoy training, they've been training multiple years, they might have hit a plateau in their training, they might have got to a place where they don't feel they can progress on their own anymore. If they want to work with you, what's the best way to get in contact with you if they want to do your training and do the hybrid method that you were talking about before?
I'd probably say the best place to find me is Instagram. I am on Facebook, TikTok, things like that. TikTok, I'll be honest, my son knows far more about than I do. He's 11. I just repost Instagram content on there. Facebook, I always forget I'm on Facebook. So yeah, Instagram, Chris_Richards_1. As we mentioned before, you'll see a lot of my content on there, training content. There's some sort of client highlights on my page as well, but that's that's where you'll find me for the most part. Yeah.
Awesome, Chris. Well, thank you so much for your time, bro. I've really enjoyed that.
Oh,
Definitely recommend. Yeah, absolute pleasure. What I will do, I will leave a link to some of Chris's content in the description box. If anyone's looking to work with Chris, or if you're inspired by the interview, get in contact with Chris. We're happy to help you. So yeah, thanks so much for your time, Chris. I'll wrap it up there, bro. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.